So this is your mic.
So, easy questions, yeah.
Absolutely, ma'am. For you, everything is easy. So, ma'am, let's begin with a very happy question. What is that one thing that brings you the most joy? It gives you the most delight in your professional practice as an architect?
Um, I think most of the moments are joyful in our work. I look at designers, all of us, as problem solvers. Not problem in the sense of mushkil hai, kathin hai, but in terms of like cracking a problem in maths or something. So right from developing the form and function as together and finding the most appropriate solutions, to even the smaller things like, okay, how do I orient this bed so that I get better daylight, better cross ventilation. Even every little thing, every decision we take is problem solving. And what I really enjoy most is when there are these little problems, you go to a site or you go and visit a client and they come up with an issue. And then there's this, impromptu kind of a brainstorming that happens. And then you have come up with some solution, but with all that brainstorming, you end up somewhere far, far superior to what you had thought of. And that's something that I really enjoy, because increasingly I've started thinking that the client, even the sutar and whoever is there on the site has good ideas. And our field is something where common sense plays a very big role, and everybody is creative to a certain extent. So that kind of brainstorming and coming up with new solutions, I think that's something that I really enjoy. Another thing that I really love is when you custom design some detailing for yourself and then that gets executed perfectly at site. That's again one great moment of satisfaction.
Amazing, ma'am. I'm sure all your answers will go a long way for the fraternity to learn from, to relate those who are on their way up in the journey, design journey. Ma'am, is there any process you follow to mentally go inward and find your creative groove just before a new or a special project begins? So is it, or just a routine nowadays for you at this stage?
So I'd be lying if I said that all projects get the same kind of attention. Some of them are done routinely. But I'm basically not a very organized person, so it's fairly organic the way things happen. For me, the biggest push is when I have a client who's pushy and who demands excellent, work of really great quality. And then that's when you sort of give up your inertia and really think that you have to do something beyond what you were capable of. So the process is depending on the kind of project, the scale of the project, how new that whole thing is to you and all that. But sometimes it could be just some imagery which is stuck in your head and that becomes the inspiration to start a design process. The green building projects that we do occasionally, those require a lot of research for sure. And in most projects, fortunately, we've always had some little thing, even though green buildings are supposed to be very holistic in the way they address sustainability, there is always one new thing that we try and achieve in every project, one thing that defines that project. So that requires a lot of study, research, talking to a lot of people, meeting a lot of people. So that's how the process is. I don't think I have a very structured process for design for every kind of project.
A rider of a question, ma'am. Is there any, or the other way I would ask, which was the hardest research you had to do till now in your entire career in a project? Hardest research for a project?
That is undoubtedly the PCNTDA building, which is now the PMRDA headquarters. That just by some very strange stroke of luck, I got that project. I was never into those kind of projects. Just because I was in Pradhikaran and I just got that project, I don't know. And that required like tremendous amount of research in all aspects. First of all, it was supposed to be a green building. I knew next to nothing about green building. So that was a learning on its own. 1st, government project I was doing, that's an entirely different ball game. Because I was in Pradhikaran and I just got that project, I don't know. And that required like tremendous amount of research in all aspects. First of all, it was supposed to be a green building. I knew next to nothing about green building. So that was a learning on its own. 1st, government project I was doing, that's an entirely different ball game. because I had never even prepared a BOQ for any project before. It used to just happen with the client, discussing, and they would spend any amount of money, and we were happily doing that work. So we had to prepare BOQs in the PWD format, learn how to, make these rate analysis and things that I hadn't never heard those words before. So that was one. Then presenting to the top officials and getting estimates passed, all that, dealing with government contractors. So all of that was a very, very huge learning curve, but we did manage to complete that building somehow, and it's fairly well known also. Yeah.
Is there any kind of project which you have not done till today in your entire career, but you are secretly yearning to do a particular kind of project? Is there something like that?
Quite a few. Actually, I've just been doing residential, a few commercial offices. So hospitality is something that I have never done. Industrial, I have never done. Hotels and hospitals, I've never done. So there's a huge chunk of work that I've never done. Anybody, if you want to pass on a small project, you can. Yeah.
How do you select your projects? What is your process of selecting a project?
Okay, that's easy because I have never actually approached anybody for work. So anybody who walks through our doors and gives us work, we are very grateful and we take that work. Only recently, because we have generally been working more for developers now, because of that, then some of the projects which are about bungalows or only purely interiors, we have to say no, because it's simply not possible to do justice to those projects. Otherwise, every project that comes to us, we just take it up, because that's like so many more opportunities you would lose if you don't take that. And you don't know what kind of opportunities can come.
Ma'am, which project established your reputation in your design journey? The game changer in your career?
See, we were doing bungalows for almost forever from the time I started my practice in 93. So it started with 1-room extension, 2-room extension, and it took about a year to even get a full bungalow to design in Pradikaran. But the big advantage was I was working in like exactly 4 square kilometers of area. So any project we did, whether it was of very great architectural value or not, it was visible. So that visibility helped a lot. And I think these bungalows that I did in Pradikaran, because every 3rd or 4th bungalow, we were able to do either a renovation or a complete job. And I think those were the game changers to set me off on a career path.
Ma'am, what is your trick? Like, what's your X factor? Why do clients, what makes your projects likable to your client? One thing which you feel makes your projects likable to your clients.
Okay, X factor, I think at my age would be only experience. So, yeah. Otherwise, it's a plus and a negative for me, because I'm quite flexible and I very easily go across to the client's point of view most of the times, which is a plus in the sense that the client feels very great about me listening to their ideas and following their ideas. But a negative is that I really don't have my own individual style after having worked for nearly 30 years. So every building is very malleable depending on what the client is expecting from us. So I think that is probably a factor that goes for us, because the client feels that they are getting involved much more in the whole process. I think that would be it. And also I think our integrity matters, and we are genuinely sincere about those projects. So I think that must be the factor.
Is your architecture different because of your gender? Like, do women architects think differently? Especially when you receive a brief, a client's brief, a male architect looking at it and decoding the brief, whereas a women architect's decoding of a brief, is it different? Is your architecture different?
I don't think my personal design style is very feminine or anything. But I think as women, we tend to handle many more things than men in life in general. So our attitude to our work is to just get it done and go on to the next chore that we have, other things in life that we have to do. So we are not so much into, specifically or consciously statement making. as probably a male architect would do. And we don't get time to socialize with other architects, other friends. So we are at work, we are fully into work, and otherwise we are into our homes. So I think that thing of ego boosting by your own project or making a statement with your project, that is probably lacking in what women do. We are more like fulfilling a need or fulfilling a client's requirement. That's my reading. But of course, on the other side, you have somebody like Zaha Hadid who just only made statements. So I'm not sure how many women it is for, but for me, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay. What, again, another personal question. What irritates you the most at work? What angers you?
I don't see any of my staff here. Yeah. See, most of the times I really appreciate and adore my team at work. But once in a while, any kind of sloppiness or just being very casual in talking to the client or giving very, vague answers or not keeping their word on commitments or not reaching meetings on time. These things really bug me because I think that's very unprofessional. Everybody's time is important, and how many ever hours you're spending at work, I think they have to put in their best into it, not just for my firm, but for their own self improvement. So that's the only thing. And once in a while, some clients who are unfair to us, that also bugs me. Otherwise, it's fairly, yeah.
Ma'am, which architect do you admire the most? Indian, international, living, dead, and why?
I wouldn't say any specific architect. Like I said, I have a lot of influences probably in my work. So, like in college, it was always Frank Lloyd Wright and Corbusier and so on. And then, of course, when we actually visited sites of Charles Correa or B.V. Doshi, one is an admirer of all of them and draws lessons from them. But I also feel that the present lot of younger architects are doing amazing work. I mean, we have a lot of them maybe in our audience also in Pune itself. And they are somehow able to break away from this, just following the trend. And they are able to sort of bring about a very good amalgamation of contemporary as well as vernacular architecture into their work. And they have developed their own styles. So I equally admire the younger architects, so many of them who are not even well known, but their work really speaks for themselves. Yeah.
Ma'am, you're continuously surrounded by your staff, your clients, your vendors, contractors, family at home. How do you find your alone time? Do you find your alone time, and if yes, how?
Not too much of alone time, but if I got enough alone time, monsoon is my favorite season of the year. And I would just like to sit in a nice, comfortable armchair, sit by a big window, have a nice, big cup of tea, have my favorite book, and just spend hours there. So that would be my, ideal alone time. Yeah, but one gets it rarely. I'm sure it's the case for all of you. Yeah.
So you are still happy with Kindle, or you?
It's Kindle because now otherwise I need specs. So in Kindle I can increase the font size to abnormal levels. Yeah.
Ma'am, which is your sacred dogma, your sacred principle, which you never break on site? One golden rule, which you never break on site.
See, on site I still believe in level tube, gunya and olamba. So these things are the basic. So getting things in line and level, right angle, once you achieve that, more than half your work is done. You don't need fancy interiors, nothing. Your building just needs to be constructed very neatly, very well. So that's something that if the site engineer hasn't noticed it, then I get really irritated because it's their job too. So these are things, and even my own staff, I tell them that these are the things they need to look at rather than other stuff. Those are the very basic things. So that's my, yeah.
Ma'am, what's your process of responding to your client's brief, especially if it's a complex brief for a new project? Is there something different you do, or is it as usual, or a little more unique perhaps from other studios, something which others can learn?
Yeah. See, one thing is like I do love challenges. So if there is a different kind of typology, a different scale, I get very excited and I can't sleep even. So the design process starts the moment I'm even sitting in front of the client or I've left that meeting. So it starts after that. And I can't, go on agonizing over the drawings and design. So my style is to go with quick responses, quickly develop designs. And if it's absolutely totally scrapped by the client, I don't mind that. Because then what you've been doing wrong and what they want. So that's the process. Like I'm absolutely okay to do 15 revisions as long as I get to do that job. So, and research is always there, and there is so much to learn from even observing all around you. So, there is no specific process, but it's just basically your excitement about that work that makes you learn more about it. Yeah.
Ma'am, how do you upgrade and update your studio and your team in today's fast changing technology?
I think that's also not very consciously done, but more organically. The good thing about having a young team as your staff members is that they come up to you and say, "Ma'am, ये software आया है, ये ले लेंगे, इससे ये काम हो जाएगा." So I'm always open to that, or to upgrading the computers and all that kind of stuff. So it's mostly coming from my staff most of the times, and sometimes even somebody like Sanjay Verma will come and tell me, "Ma'am, आप ये scheduling का ये एक software है, आप ये लगा लो, then your work will get done in what you do in 10 hours, you will do in 6 hours." So all of those I'm open to, and a lot of it comes from my staff members and clients, and we're pretty open to spending for technology wherever it's required. Yeah.
Ma'am, is there a dream you are drawing?
Oh, every project is a dream for that particular client. So many dreams that we're drawing. My personal dream is always that I would like to have at every point of time at least one building that they want to really design very, very sustainably. So fortunately that's going on now, one building that we're doing, where everybody is on the same page, the client, as all of that. And of course, now with the new UDCPR, we are doing really high-rise buildings, which we have not done ever. So now we're doing buildings above 100 meters and all that. So that's a huge learning experience. That's also a dream to see our spires in the sky. So that's it.
Ma'am, what is that one thing which you would like Bhavya, your daughter, to learn from you as an architect? One thing in you. There are plenty and many, and she's lucky to have a mother like you. But just to outline that one most important thing which you feel she should learn from you, ma'am, without modesty.
I don't give up easily. So maybe that.
Guys.
That's it.
And please, you are adding something.
And yeah, so I can sit up even now all night and work on some design if it requires. So that's something that, I mean, she's not here and saying this about her, but she says, office se ghar jaane ke baad, I'm not going to touch my laptop. So I'm different in that. And I wish at times she would do it when it's required. Work those extra hours. Yeah.
So today's questions, we still have a little more to go, were all designed to draw out her secret sauce of success so that other designers, all of you in the audience and viewers can, gain from this. So that's where we are going with this. Ma'am, if you are reborn, would you like to be reborn as Architect Usha Rangarajan or Usha Rangarajan, the person?
I think this life has been almost all of it about Architect Usha Rangarajan. Most hours have been Architect Usha Rangarajan, and while it has gotten me great things, I think there is a lot that I have missed out on this path. So I would like to be born as just ordinary Usha Rangarajan. Yeah.
Okay. So, before we close in, ma'am, can you share with us one quote which has stayed in your mind, or one film dialogue, or one song, whichever has stayed in your mind, it uppermost in your mind? Would you like to share with us?
I can't think of anything. Okay, this is a slightly sarcastic, funny quote which is attributed to Frank Lloyd Wright, where he says that doctors can bury their mistakes, but architects can only grow creepers to cover them up. So that's something that I, every now and then, because very often, and Pradhikaran is an area where I have a lot of projects, and sometimes I have to close my eyes when I'm passing that building. So I'm very frequently reminded of this quote.
With that witty retort, witty remark, we close the interview. Thank you so much, ma'am. Big, big round of applause for ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing so candidly your personal as well as professional thoughts, views, and opinions. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.